This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so it is 6:02 and we'll call the meeting to order. I'll start with the minutes for March 24th council, March 30th special meeting of council. Everybody wants to take a look at those. Tara is going to make the motion for that. If I can have a seconder. Whitney? Councilor Wright? Anybody have any questions? Okay. All in favor? Okay, we're all good. The adoption of the agenda. If I can get a motion and a seconder.
Are we adding on the RCMP report?
Oh,
Oh,
sorry, it's
okay.
on the, I'm sorry, it's on the AllNet, but it's
Okay.
not on your paper copies. I apologize for that.
Okay, so is that the only thing we added? Do we need to? If it's on the AllNet, then we won't worry about adding it because it is on there. Okay, so if I can get an motion for the adoption of the agenda. Councillor Cowan, Councillor Gardner is seconding. Anybody have any other questions? All in favor? Okay. Then we will do
RCMP.
the RCMP report.
Yeah.
Rhonda, you were going to read.
Yeah, if you, actually, Staff Sergeant Argue prepared me with an email to read out to everybody, and so the public can hear most of it as well. And so he attached the, you have the policing stats for the month of March. And he said for the most part, their stats are very similar to the previous year and they look really good. They had a couple of reported thefts, but these were largely no pay for gas and shoplifting calls, so relatively minor in nature and minor dollar value. Their total call volume from January 1st to March 31st are within one call from the same period in 2019. They are anticipating their call volume to drop for the town of Virden over the next few months, given the pandemic and isolation, but it is hard to say because they've not experienced something like this before. There were 2 offenses for assaulting a police officer. Both of these were from one incident where a person arrested in another community in Westman area assaulted 2 separate officers, once back at the detachment in Virden, while being lodged in the cells. Both of these members did not sustain serious injuries, but charges have been laid, and because the offense occurred in Virden, they are reflected on the Virden stats. They have a number of procedures and protocols in place to ensure they are able to continue providing policing services during the COVID-19 pandemic. The only change to the public at this point is stopping public traffic to the detachment. They continue to answer calls, and they can have people call the administrative line to make arrangements to meet with an officer if needed. This is in place to ensure they are meeting with the public only when it is necessary and to ensure that they can screen customers for administrative complaints. Officers responding to calls may wear personal protective equipment such as masks, safety glasses, based on the officer's risk assessment of the situation. At this time, the Manitoba RCMP are not laying charges related to the public health order and COVID-19 recommendations and orders. They have received a large volume of calls related to this and the provincial border check stop, and they continue to provide guidance on the appropriate venue for these complaints. They have had a few cases where their officers have contacted subjects that are reported to not be self-isolating after international travel, and they have had conversations about the requirements. All of this may change in the near future as the provincial government has suggested they may be moving towards more enforcement to ensure the public health directives are followed. Once more information on that is received, they will adjust accordingly. But going forward to the 2021 fiscal year, because they're April 1 till March 31st, they're working on planning their priorities, and this is something that you as council generally provide them with what council's priorities are for the year. In the previous year, the Town of Verdon Council identified police visibility as number 1, 2, traffic, and 3, vandalism. As far as the vandalism priority, they have not experienced many calls relating to vandalism, I can't speak, over the past year, and that could possibly be removed. Otherwise, they believe they were excellent priorities to focus on and would like to know if council would like to keep similar priorities going forward. Priorities are set up to provide them with direction on developing initiatives on what the community would like to see from their police service. There will be overarching priorities that they could focus on and report to council over the year, but it does not stop their regular follow-up investigations on matters such as vandalism, drugs, break-and enters, etc. So if you have any questions, we're to let him know. And if you have any questions on the actual stats, you know, I can certainly email him and get responses.
I think Councillor Gardner has something. Councillor Gardner, did you have something to say?
Grant, do you want to go ahead and
Oh, there he is.
doesn't hear you?
Yes, I got a concern that if there isn't so much vandalism in town right now, maybe we could look at something else like getting them to crack down on these drug houses that are in town, clean up our town that way. I got 2 of them on my street here, so I'd surely like to see both of them get moved out of town or relocated somewhere else in the province.
So we want to have a talk then, kind of about what we have on there now and see what else. Maybe if everybody wants to think about other things that you might want to have on there. And then we can talk about it before the next council and have him come in. And then we could kind of, we'd send it to him and then have him come in and talk over with us what we saw. So if everybody kind of wants to think about what we might want to add to it if we're taking, because you're right, Grant, if we're going to take something off, we want to give them something else that we have concerns over. So, okay. Anybody else have anything to say about the RCMP report? Nope. Okay, I don't think I got it. Can I get a motion for that, to accept it? Councillor Gardner, Councillor Penner for seconder. Any more questions? All in favor? Okay, we got everybody. Perfect. We will move on to finance. We're going to do them both together. Does anybody have anything that they need out of on finance? Mayor Wright?
Yeah, I have a question regarding 202006.
In which,
Is it in the town or in the waterworks?
Town of Verdon.
Town of Verdon. Can I get a motion and a seconder just first and then we'll do it? Whitney's going to make the motion. Councillor Cowan second. Okay, Rhonda's looking up your question, right?
What my question is now with the gym at the Thunder Oil and Gas closed, I'm assuming will that same price be in effect for next month, or will we see a reduction in that price?
we will, see a reduction. That was for up to mostly the end of the month.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, I'm assuming that's what I didn't even find the check yet. I'm assuming that's the cleaning, was it?
Yeah, it just says March Civic Center carpet and gym cleaning. So the gym, I'm assuming, is at the one at the Thunder Oil and Gas, and sees it's closed. Like I said, I'm just wondering if the same price will be in effect or we will see a reduction. That's my question. Thank you.
No, yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah.
Councillor Penner?
So Rhonda, I just have a question on the first one on the list there, 0556.
Mm-hmm. That's,
do we have an
Right. Go ahead.
Do we have an update as to the status of that situation?
We were supposed to be going for that hearing on April 20th, and that has been postponed because of all court sittings being postponed, rescheduled. So that's where we're at.
Definitely postponed.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Any questions? Counselor Wright?
I've got a couple. For the one that Mayor Wright mentioned, does the gym give us money back for the cleaning?
No, that's part of our rent because that cleaning is actually, it's not for the gym itself. It is for the bathrooms and the change rooms,
Oh,
which are shared with the pool, right? So their
Okay.
rent reflects half of, part of that payment, obviously. But
okay.
then
And then I have, oh, sorry.
they pay them separately to do any special cleaning in the gym itself.
Gotcha. Okay, and then I have a question on the 0561.
Yes?
Isn't that through the Boost Committee?
No, it's still being paid by the town.
Oh, okay.
We had budgeted, that's in our budget.
Okay.
It's a project that they're kind of spearheading on our behalf, on the town's behalf.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Any more questions from anyone?
I'm sorry, just for clarification, that was the check to HTFC for the downtown revitalization plan progress payment.
So I've had a motion made, and this is to pass both the town and the waterworks. All in favor? You're good, Carl? Okay. Okay, that's passed. Next, number 4, bylaws. Bylaw 227, it's the fire prevention and emergency bylaw. I'm just going to read out the first part of it, and then Rhonda's going to explain. Fire prevention and emergency services bylaw number 2278, being a bylaw of the town of Verdun to provide for firefighting, fire prevention, the related regulation of fire and other hazards, the adoption of the Manitoba Fire Code, and for establishing, continuing, and operating an emergency service for the municipality to be known as the Fire Prevention and Emergency Services Bylaw. And then Rhonda's going to speak to that.
Thank you. Yes, our fire bylaw was quite outdated and needed to be updated to reflect current regulations and also to really reflect what is on our Schedule A, which is the services that our fire services here in Verdun at the Wallace District Fire Department do in fact provide. So we had to be very careful that everything's listed and that you as council have by bylaw given them the authority to provide these services on behalf of the town of Verdun. We also did some amending around some of the wording around having fires in town, fireworks, making sure it properly reflected our current paid on call system with the fire chief being full-time with us being appointed by the fire board. But yeah, not a lot of other drastic things have occurred. It's just, like I said, to make sure that we are current with regulation. So if council so desires, they may give first and second reading to this.
If I can get somebody to make a motion and second that. Councillor Wright make the motion. Councillor Cowan second. Anybody have any questions about this? Councillor Cowan?
Yeah, I just had a question about the call out rates. Like, have those been investigated in a while, or are they new, or?
Yes, actually, I did speak to that matter with Chief Yoakum yesterday. I was concerned about the rates forming part of the bylaw, because to me, every time these rates are amended, we're going to have to amend the bylaw. He tells me that Rod Pike at OFC says the rates have to be part of the bylaw. So for this time, we're going to pass them with them, or it's up to you guys to pass. We'll leave them in there, and I think we're going to find out what more other places do, because I would rather see that be a resolution of the fire board themselves, and maybe even the councils approving them as well through the board. But every time these need to be updated, you shouldn't have to amend the bylaw.
Right, okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Councillor Gardner?
Should the policy that we have with the RM of Pipestone, should that be in this draft as well?
Actually, this is, each municipality has to have this bylaw specific to their municipality. So the RM of Wallace Woodworth has their own fire services bylaw, Pipestone will have their own. But then once we amend the agreement with Pipestone, Wallace Woodworth and Burden, that's another agreement. It's outside of this bylaw.
Okay, would it be possible to see that agreement that we have with Pipestone covering their portion of the municipality?
Yes, that should be with your secretary treasurer in there, but we can make sure you guys, I thought you guys had gotten out. Councillor Collins asked you.
Oh, Councillor Collins, do you have an answer for that? Yeah.
We actually don't have a current one at the moment.
No, they're all outdated.
They're all outdated, so that's something the fire board needs to look at the next meeting.
Yes.
There are no current agreements.
No, those are like back before amalgamation.
So that's something you guys will take that on.
But I would still like to see the old one.
So you have to ask the fire board for it, like ask Fate.
So you guys will do that on your end then. Okay. Anybody else have any more questions? Did I get a motion?
Yeah, right, and Callan first, move first and second reading.
Okay. So we moved first and second reading, so all in favor? All right, we are all good, all in favor. And then, so we will do third reading on that at next.
Yeah, it'll come to the next meeting.
Okay. Recommendations from planning and finance. Councillor Callan is going to take this one.
So I will make the motion that we approve the Border Regional Library budget for 2020 as presented and requested.
And can I get a second for that? Councillor Penner? Any discussion? Okay, if we're all good, all in favor? Okay, yeah, all in favor. Thank you. AMM issues. I think except for if we have anything we want to put forward, Councillor Wright mentioned maybe putting forward to AMM the public hearings around budgeting when we're in a time when we're not supposed to be having public meetings, and seeing if AMM was maybe going to do some lobbying on changing that. Was it public hearing? Oh, or the newspapers.
And advertising.
Advertising for the, was that what it was, advertising? Councillor Wright?
Yeah, the way that we can advertise, if it's just by news, like if they should add social media or if they should add any new ways of getting the message out, I guess.
Right. Right now with newspapers shutting down, it's just an especially big thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think other than that, the June meetings is just kind of for, that notice is just kind of for information, because it says right in there, they don't know if they're going to be having meetings or not, because we don't know what's going on. Does anybody else have anything that they want to go to June meetings or resolutions, things we'd like Rhonda to look at, anything like that? Councillor Wright?
I just like, how does this process work? So do I write it up and then send it to Rhonda, or would Rhonda, like, how does it normally go?
You can go, like if you have something that you want, you could start it and send it to Rhonda. She could take a look at it for you before we all look at it and send it off. Or if you have an idea.
Yeah, and it has to come to council and be passed at your council table before it gets sent to AMM.
Right. But I mean,
Okay.
if you wanted to put in a bit of the start work on what you wanted to come to us to go, you could do that. Or you can kind of put a point to Rhonda and then she would kind of go on from there.
Is that on this one, Councillor Wright, or was that another one you're thinking of bringing forward?
I mean, this one, but kind of also in general, just how,
Okay.
what the process looks like.
Okay. I just wondered if you were going to start drafting that.
Yeah, I can. I know you guys are busy. I don't mind. And then I'm sure you'll have to rip it to pieces, but yeah.
If you get your thoughts down, then it's something like, yeah, I can definitely work with. Thanks.
She's never going to
Okay.
turn to.
No, I'm not going to turn down help right now. Trust me.
Okay. So yeah, that's mostly just for info because there's no point talking going to June meetings because there might not be June meetings. So we'll go from there. The next one is request for letter of support from Barrier Free Manitoba. I don't know if you want to.
Unfortunately, this was request, got left in an email when I was away on holidays and just got forwarded on to me this week. So, or last week, I should say. But Barrier Free Manitoba is asking for a letter of support because they've made application to the province in regards to including a project to include rural municipalities more on the implementation of accessibility and the Accessibility Act. So they're just, and so we did actually contact them to find out if it was too late to provide the letter, and they said that they have already made the application, but they would still like the letter, and in doing so, they would make sure they reached out to us and got our input as to our thoughts on how we can make our buildings more accessible, the costs involved, you know, phasing, the types of things that we were talking about, which were of concern when the municipalities weren't contacted in time or made aware of a public consultation process on this new legislation.
So the question is if we would like to still, even though it won't go forward in the application, if we'd still like to provide that letter of support. So we're kind of like involved in the working group that they're doing. So if someone would like to make the motion that we send that letter of support, Councillor Cowan. And the seconder, Councillor Wright. Anybody else have any questions about any of that maybe someone could answer? I think we're good with that. Okay, I'll ask then, all in favor? Okay, yeah, we're good to send that. I think that's. Look at my other agenda. Council reports.
That's very,
Committee reports, rather. I don't know if anybody really has had a lot. How about, I'm going to start down at the bottom of my screen. Councillor Gardner, do you have any committee reports?
Oh,
yeah. Oh, maybe I'll.
Are you asking me, Tina?
I'm asking you. Do you have any committee reports?
No, just other than the meetings that we've had on the internet.
Yeah.
Or on the video conference. Staying at home, man.
Exactly. Councillor Wright?
Whitney.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, we had a Prairie West meeting last week, and just to discuss some of the ongoing challenges.
Yeah. Okay. Councillor Penner?
Oh, I have nothing to report.
Okay. Councillor Cowan?
I also attended the Prairie West meeting by GoToMeeting, which was interesting. Got to see a lot of people's houses.
I know, right?
Yeah.
You're right. Do you have anything for us?
Yes. We had an airport meeting, I believe it was in the last 2 weeks, and I've had a couple of airport meetings with just a smaller group regarding moving ahead with some of the stuff. We will have something at the next council meeting regarding the airport. And other than a few phone calls, staying inside as much as possible. That's about it.
Councillor Machinsky, do you have any meetings other than our regular council? With SAIL, yeah?
And we've approved our budget for 2020.
Good, okay. So that was, I don't know if everybody can hear, the phone is good. Councillor Manchinsky said he's had a sale meeting and that they've approved their budget for this year.
Anything else from him?
Anything else, Councillor Manchinsky? No. That's it for you, okay? And I've only had the meetings that are here, so I have nothing other than our regular planning and finance and councillor, but I bet you have some.
Oh, yeah. First of all, your managers, I believe all the managers' reports are on AllNet. As for myself, well, I attended the airport meeting as through GoTo meetings as well. Myself, I'm trying to meet daily with our managers and foremen, either by phone or they are attending to the office. Basically, you know, checking on the status of work, of the staff, I should say, safe work procedures are being followed. You know, and making sure everyone's doing okay. A lot of these people have young families at home, or somebody that may have a underlying health, you know, condition, and so we're wanting to make sure that we do right by them and that they shouldn't be, you know, that they're doing what they feel they're safe at doing. I've finalized the claims with provincial and federal governments for the wastewater treatment plant phase 2. So we will be receiving our 800,000 final amounts from them. Excuse me, sent the final report to FCM, Municipal Green Fund for our climate adaptation project with Wallace Woodworth. And sorry, final report and final claim was submitted there. Of course, we're working on budget and working at ways to make sure that we minimize that budget as much as possible. Steve Wiesik, who's working on behalf of Water Services Board and ourselves on our groundwater investigation, called me yesterday, and he has conducted more testing down in the site north of our well in the valley, and he's planning to do full-scale drilling of a well to do the full-scale work to determine and make sure that that source is going to be what we need for capacity. He's hoping to do that in the next couple of months. I've been attending the daily conferencing meeting with municipal relationships, municipal relations, that's going out on the web. We now are having all of the CAOs accessing the same call. It had been broken down into 3 or 4 regions, but now they're just having us all on the same call so that we're all hearing the same questions. And so basically it's the municipal relations themselves go through responses to frequently asked questions, recent bulletins that have been sent out, and FAQs that they then send us separately, which I'm going to go over with you guys. Emerging updates and information on supports and resources available. And then we also have other provincial departments are on that call as well. Now we have Office of Fire Commissioner, Manitoba Emergency Measures Office, representatives from 1 and 2 of the regional health authorities. We now have climate and conservation. They're coming on because there's a lot of questions about private and public campgrounds. So yeah, we're getting a lot of good people and a lot of good resources, and it's really great to see the support that we are receiving from them. And as I mentioned before, that through this department, like through municipal relations and MMAA, our Manitoba Municipal Administrators Association, we're getting the bulletins with the frequently asked questions that are updated as soon as there is new information that come out to us. And, you know, like right now, that FAQ, which I know I have been forwarding on to you guys, it's 7 pages long, and it does discuss, like, you know, just even for the public that are listening, you know, it speaks to how the provincially declared state of emergency impacts us. And, you know, in fact, it doesn't impact our operations. For us, it's, you know, we're considered an essential service, and we can have our meetings with over 10 people, but we have to socially distance, things like that. And something, you know, I know we've had some people comment from the public, well, you know, your workforce is still out there. And the Municipal Act prescribes that every municipality must provide fire protection, police services, road maintenance, waste management, emergency management, land use planning, weed control, which is basically mowing, and building inspection. And in addition, once a municipality establishes a water and wastewater service, we must continue to provide that service. So that's why all of our operations are essential services, because we are in fact mandated by the Municipal Act, which we did discuss earlier on about maybe asking for an amendment about methods of notice. So yes, there's several. This is where we have, information on how we can handle our public hearings. What we have to do if if council does decide to do something around interest on anything, if we're closing off access to our facilities, that we had to do it by resolution of council. Supply shortages and procurement challenges, they have set up a bulk order that all of the municipalities have subscribed to in hopes of getting some PPE that we have had challenges getting from our regular sources now. I was able to secure, though, 8 4-liter jugs of hand sanitizer just on the weekend. So each department got a jug of hand sanitizer, thank goodness, because we were running low. And I want to thank Farmery Brewery. That's who's making some of the hand sanitizer. They converted some of their operations, which I understand many of the breweries are in fact doing that. So yeah, and it talks about human resources, how the state of emergency is affected, how a record of employment is completed. We just got a bulletin today from Office of Fire Commissioner through the same means for safe operating procedures in a pandemic for our firefighters. So all good stuff that we're getting, and we're sure thankful that they are helping us out through this. What else do I have to advertise? Oh yeah, I went and buried my piece of paper. Just give me a moment, please. As you guys do remember, all our facilities are closed to the public now, which does include our playgrounds. And so they have been signed and either fenced off, or the swings have been secured back so they can't be used. Wastewater, Waterworks Department, they're continuing to work in the buddy system with the same 2 staff being assigned to water treatment plant and the other 2 to the wastewater treatment plant, with the foreman providing supervision, keeping safe work practices. Public Works are also using the buddy system. They're just waiting for the sun to shine and the grass to grow, because they're going to be spread all over the place, and that'll be the best social distancing, because they'll all be on different mowers between them and Parks and Rec around town and out at the cemetery. Parks and Rec is short 2 staff. The ice is out of the arena, so they're doing maintenance, as I said, with Public Works waiting for the warm weather so they can get out to the parks, ball diamonds, etc. As you are aware, our part-time and casual staff were laid off mid-March as soon as the announcement was made. And we're all, as I mentioned before, also down the 2 staff in that department. And I spoke about delaying our financial plan hearing with under the recommendation from the province and Manitoba Health. And I just want to take a moment just to thank everyone in the community who is listening to the recommendation from Manitoba Health about keeping our citizens and those who are providing our essential and critical services to us, like the grocery store clerks and of course our healthcare doctors and staff, keeping us all safe and healthy so that they can continue to provide those services for us. And I'd also like to acknowledge the organizations like our Indoor Rodeo Committee, who have made the very difficult decision of canceling the rodeo this summer over their concern with the health and safety of our citizens, and also in consideration of the huge economic impact this virus is having on our business community and our residents. Really hats off to them. And also, I'd like to thank our staff and families who are also following those recommendations so that they can continue to come to work each day to provide our community with the services that are not only essential but critical to our citizens: water, sewer, garbage pickup. And I want to just remind everybody that our office, while the doors are closed, we're still here. We're still here working. We're still here taking phone calls, doing what we can to figure out this world right now so that we can make sure that we're there for you. If you have any concerns regarding our municipal operations, or if you're in need of help or assistance, please call us and we'll try to make sure we direct you to the right area or make sure that we can provide that help for you. You know, we're all in this together and we want to make sure our community gets looked after. So please do that and stay healthy, everybody. Thank you. I think that's enough.
That's good. Okay. That's all the committee reports. Any notices of motion? No, any notice of motion?
Councillor Wright has.
No.
something.
Okay. No notice of motion.
I just have a
Councillor-
question about the committee, the one report, Public Works. Do you know when the street cleaning will start, Rhonda?
It's funny, when the snow melts, everybody thinks we can clean streets, but unfortunately we have to wait until it's a certain temperature out too, because the machine does have water. So we usually wait for it to warm up a bit more before we'll be going out.
So like probably a couple of weeks yet?
I'm expecting, yeah.
Okay, I'm just asking because we usually do like the cleanup, like I usually organize, and I was going to give Charlie Main a call, and I know we can't meet in person, but put some information up about that. So
Okay, I'll ask Public Works Foreman Cornell if he can just let me know. What would you like, a week's notice, or what would help there?
yeah, whatever works. Yeah, we can make that work.
I had the exact same question. I had a phone call from somebody and that was it. It was so nice. And that's what they said. Oh yeah, that makes sense. They were going out with those big shop brooms to teach the kids how to ride bikes and get rid of the gravel before they do. Okay, so do we need an in-camera session though, or are we?
Yeah, I would like this to short.
Okay, so if I can get somebody to adjourn us to in-camera. Councillor Cowan and a seconder from Councillor Gardner. And we will go into in-camera at 6:40.
Okay, I just have to turn off the record.
This conference will now be recorded.
Can I get a motion to adjourn our meeting? Councillor Cowan and a seconder. All in, Councillor Wright, all in favor? All right, we are adjourned.
Have a good night, everybody.
Good night.
See you on the 16th.